I think we should get straight into the body of what we're doing today and thinking about writing a kick-ass application. So in order to do that, I am going to ask Rob to join me first. Rob Lindsay, who's our head of programs here at the Space. Hello, hi Rob, hi. Would you kick off, Rob, by describing yourself and then giving us an overview of your role and the kind of commissioning opportunities that the Space offer?
Of course, yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Rob Lindsay. I'm a white male in my mid-40s. I'm clean-shaven with a red and black shirt, and I'm currently sat at home in my living room in front of a map of Donegal. I am head of programs for the Space, so I oversee a number of opportunities that we put out. These opportunities may be around funding, they may be around guidance, they may be around mentoring, but most likely they're a combination of all of those things, really. The thing that I think really sets us apart is that we are here to help you pilot digital activity that you've not necessarily done before, hopefully something that builds on successes that you've had and the skills that you've already got in-house, but it's helping you really kind of dip a toe into new waters. We recognise that it would be riotously unfair to expect you to be able to deliver something brand new using new skills completely on your own. So the big thing that we offer is always guidance and support and advice. We're really active collaborators on all the projects that we support. We're really here to help you. We are aware that there are lots and lots of people in arts, heritage, creative sectors, academic sector who are fantastic at telling stories, finding stories, creating beauty and insight and inspiration, and quite often doing these things in physical spaces. As soon as you go to digital, kind of everything changes. You're potentially doing things worldwide, you're potentially doing things, making things available forever, where previously it might have been a limited run. All of these things kind of change in terms of rights and permissions and the tech you need and the sustainability, the legacy of these projects as well. So we really want to be as active as possible in order to help you navigate that and make sure you're in a stronger position at the end of it than you were when you started.
Thank you. So because you've already sort of highlighted certain aspects of thinking, if you're thinking about applying for a digital commission that you might not think about, or you'd have to think about differently to if you were applying for a different kind of commission. So you've pointed about sort of global reach, you've talked about rights and about sustainability. So we'll sort of come back to all of those things, I think, and how you'd, how you need to think about those. Is there anything else specific to applying for a digital commission, or in the digital sphere, rather than more generally across arts and culture?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mentioned sustainability as well. We want to make sure that you're building skills and that you're creating something that is going to have a legacy to it as well. It's always nice to see if you can say, this is what we'd like to do, and there's a clear path to what you'd be able to do next once you've done that. It really needs to be able to reach an audience as well. I know that lots of people created digital work during lockdown when we were unable to perform in-person spaces or talk in spaces or hold exhibitions in physical spaces. But I also know that lots of people created work and then found it difficult to really reach the audience that it deserved. So we really want to see that you've considered that. And again, that's something we can really help with. And then I think the final thing is that with all of this kind of advice and guidance, it's really good if you can make the case for needing the place on a particular program that you're applying for as well. If you're asking, for example, to be taught how to use a piece of software, and there are already fairly well-serving free online courses or videos on YouTube or something like that, it can be quite difficult for us to justify giving you a place over another applicant. So I'd say really the kind of advice and support you need needs to be something where there's a sense that doesn't already exist somewhere else. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm going to ask Dept to join us, but I've also just noticed that Jonathan has raised his hand, and I wonder if you have a question, could you type it into the chat, please, Jonathan, so that everybody can see that. If that's not possible for you, I'll get one of my colleagues to contact you. Thank you. Okay, so Dept, so we've heard a bit from Rob, and welcome. So So it's brilliant that we've got Dept with us. Dept is one of the relationships managers for ACE, and so we'll hear sort of two different perspectives. I think what we're saying today is we aren't saying how you can apply to any particular fund except the ones that we know about. So Rob is here to represent the space, Dec's here to represent Arts Council England. So we're not expecting a huge view. It's about what you know and can offer to the audience. So thank you, Dept. Same as Rob, would you mind describing yourself and then tell us a little bit about yourself and your role and how that and what part you play in the kind of selection of applicants?
Yeah, sure. So hello, everyone. I'm Declan Westwood. As Linda's already said, I'm a relationship manager at Arts Council England. I'm a white mid-30s male with pushed back ginger hair, and I'm wearing a green corduroy jacket. So my role at the Arts Council is to kind of help develop and assess applications across different funding programmes, and that includes project grants and developing your creative practice. I then also sit on the decision panels that consider applications for up to £30,000, again, including project grants and DYCP. And outside of this, I do a lot of development work with artists and individuals and have a real focus on priority places. So I think something that we've been doing more and more over the past 3 years is taking a real place-based approach to cultural development, and that includes developing projects around project grants and DYCP.
So really a wide perspective, really, and looking at lots of the work that comes in. So I was going to ask the pair of you, and I'm going to start with Dept, just to sort of talk us through what is a successful application to you? Let's get to the specifics here. Is what are you hoping to see, and when something's made you go, oh my gosh, that is brilliant. What is it that you really like about it? Dept, can I start with you? I don't know if you've got a particular example you wanted to draw on, or just however you want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was an application I saw a few weeks ago, and it was based on a kind of area-wide festival, including priority places. And I think its main aim was to really reach kind of hard-to-reach communities. So what did I like about it? The application started with a really short, clear overview of what the project was, and then broke it down into different stages that kind of correlated really well with the project plan, so making sure those different bits of the application linked together really well. They broke it down into clear stages, so the initial prep, such as commissioning artists, talking about lead-up events and workshops, and then spoke about the actual lead-up to the festival itself, so finalising programmes, looking at contracts, making sure that budgeting, monitoring and evaluation systems were in place. And then the festival itself as well, so kind of talking about social media with different live prompts and gathering feedback and evaluation. I think something we always look for in a project is that evaluation as well. So being able to evaluate the work that you're doing to make sure you know you've achieved the aims that you set out to do. So for example, in this project, they had a clear festival monitoring plan. They had regular reports to the trustees of the organisation. Really good use of data gathered through their ticketing systems to kind of identify new and returning audiences. And then really good audience surveys for after the shows and workshops as well, to make sure they were capturing that. And something they did really well as well is also surveying the artists and volunteers about their experience working with the organisation. So a really rounded picture of evaluating the project to make sure that that has all been included. We also look at where the projects are happening as well. So obviously we concentrate on priority places, but we also look across the levelling up for culture places as well, of which priority places are a part. We also look across different art forms as well. Some art forms are less funded than others, such as museums and literature with project grants as well. So we try and balance a lot of those things out as well. And just to touch on venues as well, I think something that's really interesting in reaching hard to reach audiences as well is the venues that are selected as well. So for example, the application that I was referring to had theatres and performance spaces, but also community centres, village halls, libraries, outdoor spaces and museums as well, to really connect with communities in a strong way. And again, with project grants as well, it's who you're working with. So really having a wide range of relevant partners and adding detail on how they support the project. So this could be MPOs, local primary schools and libraries, the local authority, and this application had a local refugee hotel as well.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. What strikes me about what you're saying is that you're giving us a really clear picture of what you really liked about a particular application, but you're also giving us quite a strong picture of the ACE priorities, and I suppose that's a really important thing. So perhaps, you know, as an organisation, your priorities are very public, but that thing about making sure if you're going to apply for a fund or a commission, you know exactly what that organisation is looking for is sort of key to your success, isn't it? And what you're saying is somebody has kind of come along and made it easy for you to say, I understand how that matches what we need, and that's a key point of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the key things to do that is to look at the application form early on as well. So look at those prompts when you're actually developing the project, and a lot of those priorities are on our website. And we also have time limited priorities through project grants, for example, grassroots music and unlocking collections for museums as well. So make sure you keep up to date with the updates on the website.
Does time limited mean that they're only going to be available for a while?
Yeah, so it's normally over a 12-month to 18-month period, and then we assess whether it has been successful at the end, and some of them are then extended.
Lovely, thank you. I'm going to bring Rob back in. So listening to that, what does that echo with what you're looking for when you're reading an application, Rob? Is there sort of things that are different or the same about what Declan's saying?
A lot of it absolutely echoes what Declan's saying, and again, I would say, yeah, I'd immediately echo what Declan's saying about just making sure that you've really read the questions that are there on the form, really answered as clearly as you possibly can. It is that kind of clarity. Often, I think, if you've got a creative idea, being able to get that down into words and to let us know exactly what it is that you're looking to achieve, as much as what it is you're looking to make as well. So, yeah, kind of why you're looking to create something. At the same time, yeah, really, really good relevant references and images and kind of anything that really helps to explain your idea can be fantastically useful as well. A lot of the best applications we've seen as well are things where, again, this goes back to this idea of us being really here to offer support and guidance in addition to the funding, where we have applications from people who can show how something built on what they've done before, and at the same time you really get a sense from the application as to where they're going to go next and what they're going to achieve moving on from that as well. Those applications are really, really, really exciting to see. And again, I would stress that, as has been said a moment ago, not all funders are the same, not all funding models are the same, not all programs are the same as well. So something that really shows that an application is really, really relevant to that program, and that it really kind of justifies not just having a place, but taking a place away from other people. You know, these are competitive processes as well. So really showing that, yes, this is a program that's really going to help this applicant is really, really important to see as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think we've lost Dec for the time being. So I'll just kind of, my next question to you, hopefully he'll be able to come back in again. So as you're saying, you know, these are competitive processes, which everybody knows. And of course, there's lots of organisations or individuals all going for the same brief. What is it that you can do that makes yourself stand out? Because there are lots of things you could say that anybody could say. So how do you make it really clear that this is about you and your organisation?
I think that's the thing, really. Make sure that you are talking about yourself and your organisation, but also crucially talk about the work that you're seeking support for as well. Make sure that's really, really, really clear. I've seen a few people where they may put in an application that's talking a lot, but it's not quite answering the questions. And I think sometimes people may write copy first and then start pasting in blocks of text into different fields afterwards as well. I think it's really, really important to really consider what is being asked of you. What do people want to know? Those questions are there for a reason. We're not just putting in kind of arbitrary hoops for people to jump through, or kind of obstacles that you've got to climb over. It's there because that's the information that we need from you. So I'd really focus on the questions that are being asked and about answering them as clearly as you possibly can, is always the advice. I would always say as well, read the brief. I mean, I know that they can often feel cumbersome, they can often feel lengthy. The information's in that brief to try and answer any questions you may have and really try and guide you and steer you, because we want good applications, we want great projects, we want great applicants. You know, that's what we're looking for. So everything's in there, not as a hoop or an obstacle, but hopefully as something to help you put in as strong an application as you possibly can.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. So I wanted to ask you about, so we're talking about the space offers commissions for projects, and the space also has mentoring programs and schemes. And so when people are applying for something like a mentoring program, are you looking at a similar, would you read an application for a commission and an application for a mentoring form? Is there anything different about how you'd approach those two things?
Yeah, I think there is slightly. If we're doing a commission, we're obviously looking to create a piece of work, to create a piece of digital work, and crucially get it in front of audiences in a way that is, again, as Declan said, measurable, in a way that is something that you can evaluate, in a way that is going to strengthen you as a team, as an organisation, or as an individual artist. On the mentoring programme, we deliberately created that programme or developed that programme because we were seeing people applying for commissions where it was difficult to justify the financial spend on the creative output, on the kind of digital piece, but we can absolutely see where the applicant would benefit from the guidance and the help. And actually, for the sake of being able to put together a programme of support where you might speak 5 times over 6 months, have these conversations and really help your thoughts kind of get some clarity and some progression in your thoughts. We could absolutely see where there was a benefit there. And so that's where that program came from. So I would say with the mentoring, it's as much about strategy as it is about creative output. It's as much about obstacles and problems that you're having, things you'd like to be able to overcome. And you don't necessarily need to know what the answer is. You don't necessarily have to have a proposed project that's going to resolve that. You know, it can be much more about broader strategic thinking. Again, I would say we need clarity from you. We need honesty from you. We need you to be able to really kind of put forward what you want to know. And again, I would underline what I've said before as well. It's about making sure that people are going through on these programs who would not be supported in other places, in other ways. So again, it's about making sure that the questions you're asking and the support that you're seeking isn't available from other places. We will always try and signpost you to those things if you're unsuccessful in getting onto a mentoring program, and we feel that there are other areas that you benefit from. We will try and signpost you to those. But the ones that are going to go through to the mentoring programs, the ones where we absolutely can see that this program is going to be the best place for someone to get those questions answered. Thank you.
Thank you. And welcome back, Dec. So obviously you're having, I guess we might lose you again because it seems like your internet is not so great today, but while we've got you, we'll ask you. So the DYCP program, we've been asked a few questions about that. When you're reading those applications, what is it that you're looking for specifically?
I think the main thing around DYCP is it's all around you. I think Project Grants is really project focused, but DYCP is about you as the individual. So it's almost taking a really selfish approach to the work that you want to do. And I always imagine it as a journey, A to B. So where are you now? And speak about some of the commissions you've had, some of the work that you're currently doing, what you want your journey to be, and then where you want to be afterwards. So I think a really clear journey from A to B is really important, but also really making sure that that development is supported by other factors as well. So that might be mentoring from another artist, it might be training programs, it might be purchasing new equipment to then branch out in different ways as well. Something else that I think is really good that stands out is like a clear step change as well. So that, for example, could be a dance producer that wants to move into VR work, so making a kind of digital step change, being able to purchase equipment around that, and then really make that move. And then evidence how that's going to take your career forward and progress as an artist.
Yeah. Actually, we've had a couple of questions which are, what is DYCP? I'm sorry, I didn't explain that, but do you want to say, and is it UK-wide?
Yeah, so developing your creative practice, which is basically a development program for individual artists and practitioners across England. And that can take many, many different forms across different art forms as well. I'll definitely check the guidance on that, which is kept up to date.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to ask the audience whether they've got any particular questions for you. In the meantime, Dec, is there, when you're thinking about sort of preparing for this webinar, is there any sort of key piece of advice or thought that you wanted to share that you really wanted to get across to the audience?
It sounds simple, but read the guidance. The guidance is also a live document as well that we update, so make sure that you look at that as well. Something else I'd mention as well is once you've written an application, show it to somebody who knows nothing about the project. I always find this little bit of advice is really good. I think naturally we fill in the gaps when we read something we're familiar with. So being able to hand that over to someone who's not familiar with the project really makes sure that it is it has that clarity in the work that you want to complete.
It's a bit like me saying DYCP and then somebody saying, but what is that? You can make assumptions, can't you, about other people being in your world and seeing it your point of view. So that's a really good bit of advice. Rob, is there anything that you really, really want to get across? We've got other opportunities, but is there anything that you think, well, I really need to say?
I would absolutely echo what Declan said, and that's fantastic practical advice. You have, all of us have an unshakable burden of context. We know everything about our project, and when Declan says that we kind of fill in the gaps, it's so important to recognize how much we do that. We do that with everything. We do that with marketing, we do that with conversations, we definitely do it with our applications. So read that guidance and look at what's being asked for, and then show your application to someone else who knows nothing about it. Don't give them any context, just say, look, if this was in front of you, would you understand what it is that I'm asking for? It's such good advice, and it's really good practical advice as well. So I'd say, please, I'd echo that.
Thank you. Somebody's asked a question about the specific question, which has been answered in the chat, is about whether anybody supports the creation of partnerships between English and international organisations. So the question has been answered, but you did speak about partnerships. And is it important for an organisation or for an individual to have really thought about who else they're going to work with, and how do you bring those people into the application writing process? I'll start with Dec.
Yeah, I think partners are a really important part of a project, depending on the scale of the project as well. So, for example, if it was a national tour, having those venues as partners, having teams within those areas to support the project as well. And the way you mentioned that international work as well, I think that's becoming more prevalent now since the pandemic. I think before it was quite common, but now it's kind of being built up. And especially in a digital capacity as well, being able to share work internationally and making sure that those international partners are on board. And I think the important partners as well are partners that support the organisation, but also partners that work with the organisation in producing, in being venues and being hosts with that work as well.
Thank you. Rob, is there anything else that you would add about partners?
I think it depends on the programme. So for some programmes, we may be seeking people to have kind of active partnerships in place. For others, maybe not. But I would say certainly the things that we're looking for on a commissioning round are that you're going to be able to produce the work, and that you're going to be able to get it in front of the audiences that it deserves. And you may well find that partnerships are a really handy way of doing that. Just in the same way that if you're an installation artist or something, you might be the one creating the work, and then a venue partner might be the one who's dealing with the audience and the health and safety and the opening hours and all those sorts of things as well. Partners can be incredibly valuable. Again, it might be festival partners for you to get your work in front of people. It might be people who have agreed to share or promote or support your work online, or to distribute it or talk about it, all sorts of stuff. So I would say partners can be incredibly important. It depends on what it is you're trying to achieve and what the program is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just check if there's any other questions from the audience, and then we'll stop for a break. I just wanted to ask you about the whole, when you were speaking about audiences and evaluation, do you have any examples or tips for how people could you know, what kind of evaluation models you're looking for, or what you expect people to, or organisations to know or do in order to, you know, sort of really bring that part to life. Rob, was there anything? I think you mentioned evaluation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say you've got internal evaluation, so making sure that this feels that this has been a useful project to you and that it's justified the time that you've spent on it. And at the same time, there might be a kind of additional external evaluation that you want to do as well. So that might be around the people who have engaged with your work. It might be that you just want to do something to get as much reach as possible, or it might be that you're seeking a key demographic or something like that. If you have decided we want to do this piece that's for early retirees, have you got a way of measuring that? Have you got a way of finding out if those people have engaged with your work and you've been successful in that way? So it might be something around that, or again, it might be something where there is a metric that one of your partners is particularly interested in, and something like that. You know, I think it's important to have something where you can say we've been successful, and I think that has to be something that you can measure, something you can identify really, really practically, and that you can be realistic about it as well. I think we did quite a lot of, I think as a sector, the creative sector, particularly under lockdown, started looking at numbers in terms of digital work a lot more than the sector has done for a long time. And I think actually a few people had a little bit of an emperor's new clothes moment and suddenly worried that a lot of the numbers we were recording didn't necessarily mean anything. It was kind of volume, but it wasn't necessarily insight. So I think be really kind of honest with yourself about what it is that you're recording.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. So anything, we're sort of coming to the end of this section. Is there anything either of you wants to add, or thoughts that you've had before we move on?
I'll just touch on the evaluation as well. I think evaluation can be really important in projects around research and development as well, and organisational development, especially in leading up to new MPO rounds and things like that with the Arts Council. So I think those evaluation methods are really, really important. So working with partners, having test events, working with communities to get feedback. And I think that's really, really important in developing a new business plan or reorganising the your organisation at the same time as well. So I think those methods are really useful to have a look at.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And so I've just one other thing as well, which is sparked by the conversations that going on in chat, where people are asking really specific questions. And you've already referenced, you know, read the brief, read the guidance, which, as we know, sound really obvious, but there's lots of information in there. What about, I mean, should people think about getting in touch with organisations before they apply for a commission? Should they be doing some other kind of research about who you are as bodies, as funding and commissioning bodies? Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, you can do. And again, we'll often try and run sessions like this. We'll try and run webinars like this. The brief will be often available in a number of different forms and formats as well. I would hope that you'd find the answer to your questions in those briefs, to be perfectly honest. I really hope so. By all means, though, do get in touch if that's what you want to do. It may well be that we are going to direct you towards the brief if we know the information's there and we know that it's a kind of fundamental, really.
Yeah. Anything else on that deck, or is that you covered it?
Yeah, I mean, again, look at those guidance documents. There are also individual guidance documents for things like access, building projects as well. So make sure you get down to those details within the website. Again, around access support as well. So we have lots of access support for different aspects of the project. So you can chat live to our team on our website around things like that, so you can interact. Things we also have are case studies of successful projects on the website as well. So having a look at those in the development of your project, I think, is a really key thing to do.
Lovely. So lots of information already out there, and kind of really make the most of that. Thank you so much.
I can see a comment in the chat as well from Angela, who said, yeah, absolutely, we do welcome questions and queries. I don't want to put people off when I say that there's a lot of information already in the brief. It's simply that it might already be available to you. So yeah, we absolutely do welcome questions.
Thank you very much, both. We're going to take a 5-minute screen break, then we'll come back with Sima and Yvonne, hear from them, and then I'll bring you two back towards the end when we do a more of an open session of questions. So thank you very much. And to everybody, we'll reconvene at 11:41. So just take a 5-minute stretch and away from the screen. Thank you. See you all in a bit. Hello again, and welcome back. And at this second part, we're going to be talking to Yvonne Gregory from Creative Black Country and Sima Gonsai. So who's an independent artist, as I said at the beginning, and also works with and producer and works with other organisations to support their proposals and applications. So I'm going to bring Yvonne in first. And hello. Oh, you're muted still.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yvonne, will you start by describing yourself and then giving us an overview of the work that you do and the different aspects of your role that are relevant here?
Okay, yes. Hello, everyone. So my name's Yvonne, and I'm a white middle-aged woman. I've got shoulder-length wavy hair. I'm wearing glasses. I've also got a white shirt and a blue jumper on today because I'm feeling a little bit chilly. So I'm the fundraising manager for Creative Black Country, or CBC for short. And we're an Arts Council CPP, which is a Creative People and Places programme, and an NPO, which is a national portfolio organisation. So we have all the acronyms. But basically, we work in an area just west of Birmingham that covers Sandwell, Dudley, Walsall and Wolverhampton. And those areas are deemed to have a low engagement in arts and culture. And they're one of the Arts Council's priority areas that Declan mentioned earlier. And so we work with communities in those areas to develop their own projects, their own arts and culture projects. My role is I raise money for CBC because we need match funding and we do other projects as well. So I'm a fundraiser, and then I also help. Part of my remit is to help support the community groups that we work with their fundraising, because sometimes they may, we might work with them on a very small project and get them going. They may want to develop their arts and creative activities, and it's like, well, where do we go? What do we do now? So that's part of my role. So I run a funding network, and I also run other kind of funding initiatives throughout the year to help support other people. And you can find all out about that on our website. On the other side of fundraising, I am part of the regional committee for children in need in the central area. So I'm part of a big group. It's a voluntary role. And we look at the larger grant requests over 30,000. So I'm part of the decision-making panel for that. So I get to see both sides. And I always wanted to be on the side, as a fundraiser, I was on to be on the side of, can I be deciding who gets the money, please? And has discovered, I've been doing it for about 5 years now, it's really hard. But that's my role. So I kind of have two hats today as well.
What's hard about it? Just unpick that a bit.
Oh, because I think for children in need as well, there's quite a lot of emotional and difficult applications that we read, as well as some really, kind of nice and lovely projects. But obviously, some of them are, at the sharp edge of working with children and young people, and you see some great projects, and you can't fund them all. And I have to say, children in need is the most thorough kind of process, the application process. I don't know whether anyone has applied before, but you go through different stages. The staff also get to look at all the applications. People have a call with an assessor. It's really very thorough. And even then, you know, we still have far more excellent applications than we can fund. And that's and then we have to make those difficult decisions about, and it's also what Declan mentioned about things like priority areas or areas of need as well, different age groups, different, you know, lots and lots of different things to consider. So it is difficult, and lots of times you will totally fit the criteria, you'll have an excellent project, and you'll have to make a decision that we won't be able to fund that one this time.
Yeah. I think what you're really doing is echoing this, you know, this sort of what everybody already knows about how competitive all of this is. And so it just draws me back to the other side of your work, which is, you know, you're saying you're supporting other organisations, and you said to me some of those people that you support might be very early on their journey of looking for funding. So what's your process, the sort of, you know, if you were to break it down into how do you support organisations, what kinds of questions do you ask them, what do you get them to think about?
So a lot of people will come to me in a panic mode of, I need money, you know, we need money, we need some funding. But there's a process to go through before you get to the fund where you're actually going to apply for some funding. And that is all about, you know, are you even set up? Some of the community groups that we work with, it's like, are you even set up to receive funding? You know, are you a constituted group? And even to ask themselves questions, what do you want the money for? What are the projects? What are your plans? Yeah, there's where are you going? A bit like that journey that Declan was talking about from A to B. Is, you know, does this fit in with any, because I think you need to know where you're going first, or what your plans are, or what you're about, what your values are, what you're trying to do, because then you can identify funders who will fit. Because one of the things that I first remember, it still sticks in my head about fundraising, is that money follows vision and never the other way around.
Right.
So that you in times of trouble, and we all do this, and I still do this, I don't, you know, if only I took my own advice a lot of the time, is, you know, what is your vision, and what are the funding opportunities that fit that vision, instead of you going, oh, there's money for this and there's money for that, and you're chasing the money and you're kind of like tying yourselves in knot, and it's not a good fit. And it's when you've got we all have this, you know, you've got low capacity, you haven't got time, so you really want to make sure that what you're spending your time on doing applications is a really good fit. Because even if it is, like I was just saying, you might not get the funding, but to try, you know, kind of a scattergun approach, that's really, really difficult.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's kind of lots of organising and thinking beforehand is sort of key to how when you're working with organisations.
Yeah, being really clear about your vision, really.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm going to get Sima to join us as well now, and then we'll sort of have a bit of a conversation and about from her point of view. So thank you, Yvonne. Hello, Sima. Will you introduce yourself? So describe yourself first, and then tell us a bit about the work you do that's relevant here, as a, you know, when you're looking for funding for your own work, and also some of the work that you do with other organisations. Can you just give us an overview and a flavour of that?
Absolutely, sure. So you can hear me loud and clear. That's good. So I'm an Indian lady with long brown hair. I have a grey top, and I'm kind of sat in a home studio with a bookcase behind me. It doesn't have any books in it, so but it looks fancy. Yeah, so I'm an independent artist. It's hard to describe myself because I do quite a lot of different things, but I guess in a nutshell, I am a visual artist. I'm also a filmmaker, and I'm also a screen dance director. So it's kind of dance on screen, but purely from a screen direction point of view. And so I guess for me, I've been an artist for the past 20 years. And because my skills and art genres are so versatile, I am able to apply for funding that goes across film, dance, and visual arts. And I've also had a lot of successes, but I've also had a lot of unsuccessful applications. And regardless of kind of where I'm at with what I'm doing with applying for particular funding, I'm always growing, and I'm always learning, and I'm always refining what I do. So as an individual artist as well, I do support a lot of artists who come to me and need some advice about their projects and how best to write an application or how best to get it funded. I have been on the other side of the panel as well, which is where I've had applications come to me from artists where I've had to be on the judging panel for that, and that is hard to do that. And I also support smaller community arts organisations who don't realise that they could apply for funding until maybe they've come across me, or we've worked together or collaborated, and then I'll see that they've got a huge passion and vision for what they do, and then I kind of help support and write applications for that as well. I'm not an expert at writing applications, so I do seek a lot of advice from different artists and organisations, and it's always like a team of people. I don't hit funding applications as just me. And I've learned that over the years. Don't just do it on your own. You know, you do need a support group, even if it's friends that can have a look at your application. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. And so you've had as you say, you've had a lot of success over the years in winning funding for your work, on that side of it. When you've been successful, what do you think has been the driver behind that? What could you sort of pin down when it's worked? I suppose what's different between when you've been successful and unsuccessful? Is there something you think, I did X really well?
Yeah, so I think I mean, when I say successful, I mean, you know, I got the bid. And so I guess it's I think what's worked for me is that I have been quite consistent in developing particular ideas. So as I started many years ago, as an individual artist, I wanted to make international work. I wanted to create international collaborations. I'd done a lot of work already in the UK, and I felt it was the next step for me was to start reaching audiences that were outside of the UK. So I applied for a project that would allow me to do that. And that was specific to a country. Now, when I did that particular project, I learned a lot about that country, what the kind of provisions were there. I made the piece of work, which was a video installation piece of work. And then I chose another country that was quite the opposite of the one that I'd been to. So the first one was a very matriarch country. The second one looked at a very different issues or different set of people, or engaged a different set of people. So that kind of developed me as an artist, but it also developed the work. But you could see a continuation between one project to the next, that it's kind of growing. And so I was quite successful in kind of over a 10-year period in going to different countries and designing and learning from one to the next to the next to the next. And you could see like a real knock-on effect that one project had onto the next. Then I took a little bit of a break from funding and did a lot of work independently, and that fueled a lot of commissions with different organisations. So the organisations were able to apply on my behalf. And now I'm at a stage where I'm going back to funding again. So it's kind of to be so consistent with your ideas, to see where one idea can take you to the next, and then for me to take a little break and to not to rely on that funding as well. That taking a break is really useful for you to, as an artist, to reflect on what you've done, to work and develop links with other partners, other artists. I went from being a visual artist to then becoming a producer, having a producer role, and now I'm going back to wanting to do a lot more artistic work. So it's kind of changing it up a lot. But a key to me is who you come across along the way.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm thinking we're speaking quite a lot about what you're saying is a bit of what Yvonne was saying about having a vision and an idea and being clear about who you are and what you're doing, and that, you know, that's really key. And then there's also the thing about the networking and relationships, and we'll come back to that a little bit later on. But I also I thought you both have massive experience of the practicalities of putting an application together. So I'm going to get Sima, will you just carry on? And we won't have time to go into great detail, but sort of, you know, in essence, what are the key things for you when you're thinking about an application? You've got a blank, you know, something you want to go for, clear idea, blank piece of paper. What are your steps? What do you do? And then I'll get Yvonne to pick up on the same question.
Yeah, so I like to map out my idea, first of all. And I map it out in a sense of what's the idea, what's the seed core of your vision, where can it go, who's going to see it, why would they want to see it, who are your partners, who could be a supporter, how much would it cost, you know, kind of like just on a piece of paper, a really intensive mapping exercise. Who are you going to work with? Who's it going to involve? Just all the questions that you know a funding application is going to ask you. So I look at all the questions and then I kind of map it all out as rough as possible. Then from that, it's really clear to see everything on one piece of paper, that you've kind of answered the questions in a bullet point form. Sometimes I draw little images, sometimes, you know, it can be bullet points, it can be big stars next to things. Once I've done that, then I start to kind of link up one section to the next, and that really helps me write what I want to do in really useful steps. Step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3 is this, step 4 is that. In fact, working with other artists, and they have actually taught me that stepping things through, that when I do step 1, that will lead me to step 2. Once I've done step 2, that will lead me to step 3. That it's very clear that you're doing things in stages. It helps you write it as well. And then your final step is, then it will go to this venue, then this many people we hope that this many people will come. This will be my social media marketing strategy. So you're kind of separating things out. I've always found that funders find that really useful for bullet points and steps. It's useful for yourself as well. I will work with a timeline first, a schedule first. It's the hardest thing to do. When do I want to start it? When do I want to end? And then I look at my end date and work backwards through the whole process backwards. Once I've done that, that really helps me then to budget, because then I know how many artists I'm going to work with, how many days I'm going to be delivering, how long will it take me to market it, what's the venue, you know, all of those things. It's all, you've already done your timeline, so that helps with your costs. And obviously the seed of the idea is at the start. So that's my process, really.
Thank you. And which is, you're really echoing what Dec was saying at the beginning about when he gave his example of an application that he really enjoyed reading, thought was great. That was all of those things were set out really clearly. Thank you. And Yvonne, how does that echo with what you do? And is there anything that you would like to add?
So yeah, it's quite interesting because I'm not an artist. I have a very long ago dance background. So my role when I do fundraising roles, I'm like the translator. So I will speak to the artistic team and the artists, and they'll give me that vision and the idea. And I usually go in, they've got the idea, they've got the vision, they can talk about it really passionately. And I go, okay, let's look at the budget, which no one ever wants to look at. Because I'm coming from a practical point of view. And I, again, a bit like Sima says, I will scope out a project in a practical way. How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? All of those, how many sessions is this? And then yes, I take it and translate it into what the funder's looking for. So I'm always looking on that other side, a bit how Rob was mentioning at the beginning. What are the questions here? What's the funder looking for? Because you can write a beautiful description of your project, but it hasn't actually answered the question about what you're going to do. So I must admit, I come at things quite practical. So I will go back to the artist or the creative that I'm working with and ask those questions. And I am a huge fan of bullet pointing, being really, really clear. One of the things I would say is don't forget to say what you're going to do. And I know that sounds really daft, but sometimes you can describe a project, but you haven't actually said what it is that you're going to do. And I think you can be really specific as well. You can say, for example, we're going to do 8 times 2-hour workshops over 10 weeks with 12 people in each workshop. Because that also, when you're reading an application, you get a sense of a scale. You're like, oh, okay, I get that now. I get what they mean. And I know it sounds really daft, but sometimes that is missing in people's applications, what they're actually going to do.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there's, well, the difference that will make. So some funders, for example, Children in Need, for example, is an outcomes funder. So they're looking for, in a way, the process, what you're going to do, they don't mind. They're looking for what difference will this make to people's lives. And again, funders are asking for different things. So then you've got that question of, you're doing these workshops, what difference will that make? So is it going to develop skills that then will increase confidence, that will then give an increased chance of employment? You know, that it's just going that bit further. So yeah, and give yourself time, because it's really hard to knock a quick application out. I've been doing it for a long time. I can't do that. It's a long process for me, because I like to do it thoroughly and I like to do it well. And I don't like to just throw something in. I don't like to do that. So I just say, give yourself time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So lots about sort of being organised, thinking through the steps, give yourself time. And you've both referenced some of the sort of the really practical things, the timeline, the budget, all of that, as well as having a kind of, this core idea, something that you really believe in at the beginning. I wanted to ask you about, so audience, if there's particular questions about some of the sort of practicalities, just ask away and we'll come to those. But in the meantime, it's about the writing style. Do you have any kind of tips or experience about, what makes an idea pop out on the, if we're going back to thinking about the idea and, the vision, is there anything in the sort of way that you write that you would suggest to other people or tell other people about Sima? So how do you make a compelling story?
So I guess that because I'm very film related, it's always that first 50, describe your project in 50 words or describe your project in 100 words. Well, I always think about film trailers. When you watch a film trailer and encapsulates a feature film in the space of 30 seconds, I kind of have a think about that first. It's a hard one. It's a hard one to really it's almost like doing a pitch, So yeah, that's writing style. I kind of start with that. I'm not the greatest writer though, and I have dyslexia, so I always see where there is access support, and if there isn't access support, then I draw on colleagues that can help me scribe my application. So I do a lot of the mapping and a lot of the writing in the way that I can explain what my project's going to be about. I've done the timeline, the budget I've tried my best with it, but I always go to colleagues to help read through what I've written, get the kind of right grammar and right punctuation and things like that. Some people say that there is a particular language for funding. I think it's a cross between the language being that you need to just really clearly explain what it is you want to do and who it's going to benefit and where it's going to go. That is a very, that's just something that if you're not used to writing that, then you can be asking colleagues, friends, artists, organisations to help you write that side of things. Because artists, you're very colourful in the way that you write, I guess. But then it's really important to have your voice at the same time. So you can have this language of it. This is, the dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but also make sure that you have written your passion of what your seed of an idea is, because no one can write that for you. And even if you go to a colleague, anybody that helps you write, they're not writing your project. The project comes from you, from your voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yvonne, is there anything that you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's this balance between you've got to have your passion, you've got to have your vision needs to be absolutely there. And so I will be the opposite to Sima, because I won't have that. I need the creatives that I'm working with. You give me that bit. And I'll kind of take that, and then I will kind of also add in the practical bits. So it's a combination. So because you need all the things that you're going to do and the passion. So it is hard, it's not easy to do. And it takes practice, I think, as well. And just having a go. And one of the other things that I always like to do as we're going along is make sure that everything ties up. So you've got your narrative, what you've written, your passion, your vision, and what you're going to do. Is that all in your activity timeline, your plan? Is that all in the budget? Because again, when people are looking at your application, if you've mentioned a workshop in your narrative, it's in your timeline, it's not in your budget, or vice versa, if any of those things are missing. And depending on how complex your project is, that can be quite hard sometimes to make sure you've got that thread that goes between everything, so everything kind of makes sense to the person who's reading it. Yeah. And I think sometimes the simple ideas are the best. It's just this is a great idea, and it's just putting across your passion and your voice, and trying not to make it sound too complicated.
Smashing. Thank you. Thank you for all of that. There was one other question I just wanted to put to you, Yvonne, which was that when we were talking before the webinar, you said to me that as a fundraiser, thinking about you from that role, there's always work to do. Can you say more about what you were talking about? Was saying that you were at this particular point, you were in a kind of research stage as a fundraiser, but you've always got something going on in the background. What are the sorts of things that people should be thinking about?
So, well, another thing that I was kind of like told, many years ago, is that fundraising is about developing relationships. So it's really hard to go in cold to a funder that you've had never any contact with and say, please give me £50,000 for a new project. It's really, really hard. So it's just keeping abreast with things that are happening in the sector, what's happening in your local area, what opportunities are coming. I mean, I get to, because I'm looking for those, because I pass on opportunities to my funding network. I'm always kind of, I mean, I just love the whole kind of signposting, networking, putting people together. I I love all of that. So I know for some people, they hate networking. They hate having to, you know, kind of build those relationships with people. But I think that's just really important. It's an important part of the job, because otherwise it's like cold calling, and it's really hard to do in isolation. And I'm, with the network that I run, are trying to kind of build partnership working as well, so that we haven't got people who live down the road from each other doing a similar kind of project, applying to the same funder, because they're not likely to fund two different projects that are quite similar. So, you know, there's opportunities for collaboration. As I say, joining networks like Culture Central, if you're based in the Midlands, you know, you can join for free. They send out newsletters, you find out just needing to be nosy really about what's going on. So that's kind of always happening for me.
Great.
And then you decide from what the information that you have, okay, which are the funding options that are the right fit for you.
Thank you so much. And I can see Sima nodding away, and I'm going to bring Dec and Rob back in now. But so Sima, if you've got anything to add to that, because I want to kind of ask the question to Dec as well. But Sima, before we go back to Dec.
I was just going to say, like with each funding application and opportunity that comes out, there are lots of opportunities that you can go for. Particularly with anything to do with film, you know, you don't make a film. One person does not make a film. It takes a team to make a film. So you look at what those collaborations could be, go out and see work, see the people that are making the work that you really enjoy, find those collaborations, and that could be your next bid. You may then want to go for developing your creative practice, which is more about your own development. So again, networking and building partnerships. Who could be a possible mentor? If you've not thought about a mentor, then think about a person that you think would be a great, you know, there's lots of opportunity. What I'm trying to say is look at the individual funding bids and the criteria and see where you can be collaborating with people. Go out and see things. You know, we can be locked in our rooms just typing on computers most of the day. Go out and see work, see what inspires you, speak to artists, speak to organisations, and hopefully, you know, you can start new collaborations, and that can all go into these bids.
Thank you very much, both. I've sort of brought everybody back now, and I sort of going into the more general Q&A, but I wanted to pick up on what you've both been saying and kind of ask Dec. So because, you know, one of your roles is as the relationship manager in the southwest of England, and I wondered if you know, listening to this and thinking about the organisations you know and work with and the networks in your area, whether this idea of sort of being connected and knowing what's going on, whether you think that helps those organisations when it comes to funding, whether you could sort of see parallels in what Yvonne and Sima have been saying about with the organisations that you know well and the area that you know well.
Absolutely. So I've been doing quite a lot of work in Swindon, which is kind of developing a new cultural strategy, so working across different networks. And actually, when you start to look at those opportunities, the amazing amount of artists that are doing similar things across a city or a town is exceptional. So I think as soon as you start having those conversations and networking, you really start to link those things together. Something I found as well is kind of working and connecting outside of the arts sector as well. So, for example, we created a really good link with Swindon Town Football Club, who now want to kind of develop a year of football and creativity as well. So I think looking outside of the arts sector is also a really important thing to do. Other arm's length bodies as well, having connections with those as well. So the National Lottery Community Fund, the Heritage Fund, BFI as well. There are always opportunities within those as well. And in terms of connecting organisations and artists as well, that networking opportunity is always incredible. Going to openings, going to film nights, so being able to connect to people in that way. Again, it's always astonishing how well those connections are in terms of talking to people and how many similarities there are between artists and networks. And I think creating a connection with an artist and organisation doesn't just connect to them, it connects to their network as well. So it tends to spread across the different ideas and work that they're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm sort of getting a real sense from the conversations that this isn't, we're saying how to produce a kick-ass application. It's not just in the writing of it, is it? I'm sure everybody already is aware of this, but it's really, to hear you all saying these things, it's just the thinking about that there's a kind of long-term evolution going on as much as anything else. Thank you for all of that. Can we come back to the idea of sort of going from that sort of big picture thinking back to the idea of writing? And Rob, I wanted to ask you about, nobody's asked us yet, but what would you think if somebody used an AI to write an application? How would you respond to that?
It's funny, I've had a couple of conversations about this with a few people recently. I think an AI can be a useful tool to kind of get you past the intimidating blank page, or it can kind of give you a first draft. The thing that I'd always warn though is that those AIs they're just predictive text, really. They're you're going to pop a question into an AI that you need to answer for a funder or a supporter in some way. You're going to put that question into an AI, it's just going to go out online and it's going to sort of come up with the average answer to that question. That isn't going to make you stand out, and it's going to kind of strip away everything that's unique and brilliant and exciting about you as an artist and about your idea. So I'd say, by all means, if you do want to use one of those tools as a way of getting you past the intimidating blank page, that's all well and good, but just be aware that an AI will always sell you short, unfortunately. And it can really kind of stand out as well. I think when we read applications, you can see stuff where you just think this feels like it's been written by an AI. It's incredibly generic. It's incredibly inhuman. And yeah, again, we know a few people who have tried using AI tools and it just strips out everything that's unique about you, unfortunately. Yeah. I would also say as well, any of them that then start referencing other sources, often the sources don't exist. They've kind of generated some average sources using the sort of language they'd expect to see there as well. So things like that can be really tricksy. So by all means, a tool during an early stage, but make sure you then put yourself back into it.
Thank you. And I guess my question is to the audience as much as the panel, but Rob's talking about using tools, and Sima and Yvonne are really encouraging the idea that you sort of work with your network and get everybody involved. And so my question to everybody in the audience would be, are there any other ideas or approaches you have taken to help you in the writing that you could recommend to one another? Any thoughts on that? And just back to the panel, any other thoughts on, so Yvonne and Sima have spoken about writing style. Dec, is there anything that you would say about, what do you really like to read? Is there are there ways of expressing yourself or expressing what an organisation is doing that you think are really successful?
I think it differs across funding programs. So if you're looking at a capital program, it's very particular, it's very to the point, it's very technical. And then project grants, obviously you want to get your point across, but also keep that passion within it and hear your voice. And then DYCP, on the other hand, actually, I think that's where you need a lot of passion in the work you're doing, because it's all about you, it's all about your career. And because of the volume of applications we get, if an application really stands out, it's normally because of that passion, that really strong feeling about the work they're doing, how it wants to improve and how it will lead on to those future opportunities. So I think language is key, but again, it differs across different funding programs.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. And Yvonne, you said something about that as well, about, sort of encouraging people to use really sort of clear language and simple words and say, paint a picture, I suppose, in all of this, of what it is that you're bringing to life.
Yeah, because basically it's about telling stories. It's telling us a story about what your project is, and what your outcomes will be, how it will benefit people or show people something they haven't seen before. So it's telling stories. So if you like telling stories, and loads of artists do, so all the skills are there, I think. It's just, again, just some of that translation is a skill, I think, that you learn over time. to look from, you know, the funder's perspective, because they all have their different criteria and their different, you know, so you want to home into that. So you do have to play a little game of, you know, making sure that you are answering the right question in what they're wanting to hear. Yeah. Just going back to AI, one of the last big applications that I did was for Heritage Fund, and I was like, oh, should I try out AI? I can't imagine. There's no way, if you're trying to build up like a specific project about something, it's not going to help you really. However, when you have to fit things into, because the other skill of a fundraiser is take the idea, take all of this stuff and put it into a word count. And how long do you want to, you know, it can be good for things like that. If you just need to lose some characters, some words, it can give you some options about that. You know, that's the way that fundraising has gone. You know, you have a limited amount of space to get the idea across, which is where the storytelling comes in, which is why, again, it's so hard to do on your own. I would work with the team so that we have that balance of, they need to know this, but we need to demonstrate the vision, which will probably come from somebody more creative than me.
Yeah, so knowing your strengths and where you need support.
Yeah.
Thank you. The other question that I wanted to sort of pick up on was we've been speaking about how competitive all of this is, and maybe I'll ask the question to Sima to start with, but it's about what if you are unsuccessful? I mean, you know, what we want to do is give people the skills and tools and think, actually, these are the things I absolutely have to do. But, you know, you put your heart and soul in it, you put lots of time into it. How do you kind of keep going? How do you pick yourself up if you've been unsuccessful? How do you remain resilient?
Well, the first thing you do is you find out why you've been unsuccessful, and don't be afraid to find out why. So whoever the funding person is, write the email, ask for feedback, find out why you weren't successful that time. Most of the time it's because it is highly competitive, but you will be given a few kind of pointers as to what you could have strengthened within your bid. If you're in a scenario where everything was really hanging off that bid because the timeline was all set and everybody was all set and you didn't get it, it is hard. Well, I don't want to say the word hard. It is difficult to then pick yourself back up again. But I think just to keep on trying, you know, and there are other funding pots out there as well, and not to just concentrate on the one, to cast a net wider. And sometimes not getting that particular funding bid can be a blessing in disguise. You may not think it at the time, but it could be that you develop something completely different. And so there's always, you know, I would just say that just to keep on trying, get feedback first of all. If it's not right for you, find other funders. If they're not right for you, then reassess what it is that you want to do and find the next idea. But, you know, don't give up. Just keep on, you know, going, keep on applying, really.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess you're right. You can always ask for feedback, but you may not always get it because sometimes there are small teams who haven't got the time. But I guess the thing is, keep asking, isn't it? And so
you can keep asking, but also, yeah, you have your networks. This is where your networks really come into play, because, you know, before you put your application in, show it to people. If you're not successful, show it to people again, and just, you know, gather a few, you know, bits of feedback, and then you know, assess it and see what you want to do next.
Okay, smashing. Thank you. I'm going to we're going to go to evaluation now, which takes a minute. We'll set that up, and so while the link will go into the chat. So please to fill in the evaluation form. It will only take a minute. I think there's 5 questions, really key and important to us. And I'm going to say to our panel, when we come back, we'll have 30 seconds each. If there's one thing that you would want to add, or there might be a question I think, Dec, you might want to have a look at the questions, because there's things about DYCP in there, but if you've got one little point that you'd like to give after the evaluation to the audience, that will be fantastic, and that will be the point where we finish up. Yeah, so I think we've just sort of hit on a nerve about people applying and not getting to it. So I'll start with Dec. What was your, did you want to reference one of those questions?
Yeah, so there was an applicant who was obviously unsuccessful for developing a creative practice, and that is literally one of our most competitive funding programs, especially since the pandemic, with artists reassessing what they want to do, making step changes and expanding their work. What I would say about that is, the three-stage process, as I've said, there's A, there's B, and what you want to do in the middle. Sound passionate and be really, really ambitious with what you want to do as well. Make it stand out and really take that opportunity as well. Work with mentors, work with organisations, make that really solid in the plan that you're doing, and make sure you reapply as well. So get another application in. And yeah, be passionate, be ambitious, and plan it well. I just want to touch on AI. Rob said, use it as a tool for that. Absolutely. Use it as a planning tool and a research tool. Do not use it as an application writing tool. You wouldn't believe how obvious it is when you read it. But yeah, so planning, a planning tool. I think that's what we should use.
Smashing. Thank you very much. Yvonne, did you have a final point that you'd like to get across?
I think I'd like to just say it's a process. So fundraising there's not really any quick wins. So give yourself time, and give yourself time to see the rewards, because you may have to resubmit, and you may have to kind of change your plans along the way. Like any project, things will change. But just to stick with it, there is no better feeling than getting an email, a letter that says you have been successful, and seeing your project happen that you've put an application in for. Honestly, it's I think that's why fundraisers do it. It's a difficult process, but when you might get 1 in 10. I don't know what the stats are. They'll be different for different funders. I know that question was asked, but you're always going to be rejected more than you're successful. But there is no greater feeling than being successful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sima, what would be your last point? I think we're sort of reflecting on the question about that Bethany was asking.
I think more on a personal level, look at what your supporting material is. So if you have a website, make sure it's updated. If you have social media, you don't have to update it all the time, but if you're putting in an application, now that's a good time to go, right, did I go on social media for the past couple of months? No, I haven't updated it. I need to update it. I need to update my website, because those are things that are looked at if you're able to put in a link. If you're not able to put in a link, who's your supporting letter from? Find the person that can write that really passionate supporting letter about you, your work, the impacts that it's having. And then thirdly, if it's a pitch deck or a PDF, then you've got a real chance to really kind of share more information about your project with lots of pictures, lots of descriptions of people that you're working with. You can put that in a PDF supporting material, or you can create a pitch deck, which film do, where they want storyboard. You can give storyboards, tone of your film, scripts, bios of people. You've got an opportunity there to add a lot more, where you may not have enough characters in your bid. You've got that opportunity as well. So don't forget that, and make sure that you put the time into that as well.
Thank you. And Dex put another useful piece of advice into the chat. So I'm just going to finish up with Rob. Is there a last brief point that you want to make before we close up?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's really, really notable that a lot of the advice and a lot of the comments that have come out throughout today all acknowledge the fact that writing bids and applications is really difficult. Writing anything is really difficult, let alone something that's got this much pressure on it as well. A lot of the advice and tips that people are giving about, by all means, use AI to plan something out if you want to before moving on from that. Talk to friends and get them to read something to make sure that stripped of context it makes sense and that it's clear. Talk to kind of people in networks and develop relationships, all these sorts of things. They're all ways of just making sure you don't feel siloed and on your own and banging your head on the desk because you're really struggling to fill this in. Again, you know, Yvonne was saying about working with other team members and all this sort of stuff. It's really difficult. So please do just make use of whatever tools are available to you so that you're not carrying it all on your shoulders and doing the whole thing. Kind of bring in other voices and do lean on other people, because I think we would all acknowledge it's really, really difficult to do, and it's really, really difficult to do on your own. So please just make use of all those different tools. Yeah.
Thank you. At which point we need to finish up. So I just want to thank you, panel, for sharing your experience and your insights and you know, giving really useful advice and tips to people. Much, much appreciated. And thank you, audience, for being so engaged and joining us in this session. And that's it. No further ado to say goodbye. Thank you to the team behind supporting, and Jen and the captioner and so on as well. So see you again soon. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.